Alright guys, in today's video we're talking a little bit about the latest PlayStation 5 exclusive game to be released, that game being Destruction All-Stars. This was a title that was originally set to launch with the PlayStation 5 at a full $70 price tag, which is insane to think, but it did get delayed and now it has been rolled into February's PlayStation Plus lineup, which frankly, I think saved the game. Now, before getting into this video, I do want to let you know I will not be doing the next episode of Press X Podcast tomorrow. Unfortunately, due to current circumstances, there's just no way I'd be able to do it. I will try to get a video out, and I will certainly try to make sure that Press X Podcast returns next Sunday. Now, I don't necessarily know if you can call this video a review of Destruction All-Stars. I guess you can if you want to, but I've spent about 10 to 12 hours with the game, and I can't say that it's great. Honestly, I can't even say that it's good. I can't say that it's bad or terrible. What I can say is that for the first couple of hours of me trying to get into this game, it did feel pretty bad. And I was looking at my performance in the game and I started to realize I think I'm just not good at it. Like I just haven't figured it out yet. So I decided to stick with it and try to get better at it. And eventually I did. I found a character that I was comfortable with and I started to just get a better feel for the game. And I started to have moments where I was really doing well. I was coming out on top on the leaderboards. I was winning games. I was the most effective player on my team. And I can honestly say that even in those moments, there's still something missing with this game. Now, again, I don't think it's a terrible game. I don't think it's bad. I think it's maybe mediocre at best. I feel like there's just no way I could say it's any more than that. I do think the fact that I didn't pay for this game makes me feel a lot better towards it. I can tell you right now, if I did pay for this game, especially if I somehow paid a full $70 for it, I would be ripping into this game right now. So the fact that it's free, I think has gone a long way in kind of altering my perception of it. So I want to talk about the gameplay first, because I think the gameplay is the most important part of any game. Obviously, it's king. The gameplay is okay. I feel like it could have been a lot better. My biggest problem with it is I feel pretty much the whole time when I'm playing this game that I'm just not really doing much. The gameplay loop does not feel nearly as satisfying as I was hoping it would. And more often than not, it feels like things just kind of happen. And I don't know if that's 100% because of the gameplay mechanics, because the gameplay does feel mostly tight. The driving controls feel pretty good. Being on foot feels pretty good, but there's just something off about it. And I do think it might be the netcode, it might be the servers, because there's very frequently these moments where I'm colliding into other cars and it just doesn't register, or I think I'm about to, and then something just happens where I miss, and it just seems like I definitely shouldn't have missed that collision. And then there will be other times where I see people that aren't really that close to me, and then suddenly my car's going flying and I don't know why. And I've just noticed this happening a lot with this game. So I feel like there's something up with the netcode here that if they were to fix that, if they were to remove a lot of the lag and just kind of tighten it up, the latency, I think that the game would feel a lot different. Because I noticed that when I was playing the tutorials and I was playing against AI, I know that the AI isn't going to be nearly as good as real players. It's not about that, but it just felt different. Like it just felt like the times when I was smashing into other vehicles, it just felt like there wasn't something kind of in the way there. It's hard to explain, you kind of have to feel it, but if you've ever played a multiplayer game where there's a lot of lag or the netcode's just really bad, you already know what I'm talking about. I think that's just really doing a good job at holding this game back. But even if the netcode was perfect and there was no lag, there is still, in my opinion, something missing here. The fact that you can get out of your vehicle does add another layer of verticality to the game, which is nice, and it does give you this feeling of, well, when your vehicle's destroyed, if you can't really get into one immediately, there is something else that you can be doing to fill up your time. I think that it helps because you can collect these gems, and these gems help kind of build up your meter so you can get your special car and whatnot. And one of the better feelings of the game is when you do get your special vehicle and you can actually be a little bit more effective, sometimes significantly more effective in what you're doing in trying to win this match. But in general, just to kind of give you, I guess, my overview of the gameplay, it's not good, it's not great, it's okay, but I think that the netcode and the lag is really holding this game back. And if it's not that, then it might just be the gameplay, but I'm pretty sure it's the netcode. But it feels like pretty much a glorified game of bumper cars. It's like a destruction derby type game, and I just often feel like I have a very difficult time finding any control in the game, where I feel like I'm just lacking that control, and it's just very rare that I have those moments. So the gameplay itself, it's not something that's going to hold my attention for very long. After playing like 2 or 3 rounds, I already feel kind of bored with the game, and like, all right, I just don't really feel like I want to keep playing this very much. But it is also a nice game to just kind of boot up if you want to just, you know, have a go at a couple rounds and not take it very seriously. Now, talking about the aesthetic of the game, I have to tell you that this is probably the least appealing component of this game. I did not choose to play Destruction All-Stars for the aesthetic. Frankly, I think it's a little bit cringy. It really does come off to me as it's trying too hard to be similar to Fortnite, to just look super colorful, over the top, to be zany, and I think that's fine. If that's what they want to do, then they can do that. But in general, it doesn't appeal to me. It just makes me feel like they're trying a little bit too hard. I have zero interest in any of the characters because they just, I don't know, there's just nothing interesting there. And talking about the microtransactions, I think that this does not bode well for the long-term health of the game, because the way that the developers are planning to make money on this title is through these microtransactions. And if you want to get deeper into the game, if you want to learn more about the characters, if you want to have like the arcade-like experience where you can get some little cutscenes to learn more about them, and you want to unlock more cosmetic items and stuff to really kind of flesh out your character more, they're locked behind microtransactions, which I'm not a fan of, but I have zero interest in ever paying for any of these microtransactions. And it, you know, makes me wonder if this was something they were originally planning on having the game on top of selling it for $70. That would have just been insane. I think just the idea of this game being $70 would be insane, but then having microtransactions on top of it. So, you know, the aesthetic of the game, not a fan of. Graphically, it looks pretty good, looks pretty crisp, performs pretty well. When it comes to the microtransactions, I assume that 95% of people are not going to pay for them, because I just don't think there's anything that interesting there. I don't really think there's anything of substance that most people are going to be interested in. When it comes to the game modes, they're okay. I think there's maybe too many of them, specifically that game Stockpile. I think that game really needs some work because the flow of it just isn't there. It's a game that kind of requires you to get out of your vehicle. When you KO another player, you have to get out, collect the gears, then go deposit them on a platform. And it creates this weird flow to the game that, you know, it just doesn't work, in my opinion. And even the flow of the other games is barely there when it's there. But a game like Stockpile, that mode just completely removes it. I would like to see different game modes that are tighter, more refined, maybe smaller maps. Talking about the maps, again, something very uninspired. They all kind of come off as the same to me. In fact, I'd be hard-pressed to tell you the difference between them. And that's just, I don't know, that's just my impression of the maps. It's not something that's super interesting. I do think that there is a diverse roster of characters, so even though the aesthetic of these characters and just the over-the-top nature of them doesn't appeal to me, I will say that there is certainly a lot of different characters to choose from, and they each have their own unique abilities and vehicles, and you can definitely spend a decent amount of time trying to learn these characters, but I don't know, you have to kind of be willing to do so, right? For me, I just found one character that I was getting good with, that being Blue Fang, and I just stuck with him because I just started to get good, and, you know, I just stuck with that character. I had no desire to really learn any of the other characters. But in general, to kind of sum up my thoughts on Destruction All-Stars, it's not a great game. I don't think I can call it a good game. I think I can call it an okay game at best, but I would be lying if I said that there were not moments where I really was like, I'm just not enjoying this game. The fact that this game is free to play through PlayStation Plus for me is what saved it. If I had paid money for this game, I would have been extremely disappointed, especially if I'd paid full price. I would be tearing this game to shreds, and I would be condemning Sony for even thinking that they could get away with that. So in general, I can't say that I can walk away from this video telling you, hey, don't play this game. If you have a PlayStation 5, if you're subscribed to PS Plus, give it a shot. It can't hurt. It's free. It'll just take up a little bit of space on your hard drive, and if you don't like it, you can delete it. But I think Sony certainly saved this game by putting it on PS Plus. And I want to say one last thing at the end here. I have no idea why Sony has not greenlit a new Twisted Metal yet. I feel like if we were playing a new Twisted Metal game right now instead of Destruction All-Stars, there's no way it could be any worse than Destruction All-Stars. And I feel like it just would have been more appealing to the core PlayStation audience, much more so than Destruction All-Stars currently is. So I just kind of wanted to add that in here because when playing this, it just feels like it's missing this extra layer of depth that I would have greatly appreciated if it was there. And I feel like that extra layer of depth probably could have been there with a game like Twisted Metal. But that's just my thoughts. That's just my opinion. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Have you played Destruction All-Stars? If you have, what do you think of it so far? Be sure to leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.